So I recently got my insurance renewal in the mail and I saw this really high price of $4,500 a year. And I started thinking to myself, what am I getting for this $4,500? If I go somewhere else at a different price, what am I getting there? What are the features and benefits of what I'm getting here? If pricing is pretty similar everywhere I go, how as a homeowner, I get the most bang for my buck? So if a claim happens, how am I gonna max out that claim? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to talk to you in today's video for homeowners. So let's jump over to the chalkboard and dive deep in the benefits, pricing, and exactly what you're getting for this pricing with your insurance. All right. Now to the chalkboard, and we're gonna dive deep in this today, and we're talking about, as I said, flood insurance. We're talking about features, benefits, price. When I recently got insurance renewal, now this was on my home insurance and my auto insurance, but still, it made me start thinking, as a consumer, what am I getting? As a consumer, what do we need to make sure that our customers understand that they're getting? Because come claims time, you wanna make sure how you're covered. Hey, is the price really worth this? Risk versus reward, and all these things. So that's what we're talking about today when it comes to features, benefits, impact on price, and all these things. So the first thing we want to talk about with flood insurance is features. Let's talk about building coverage. Now let's talk about the benefits. When having building coverage on your flood insurance, what are the benefits? Well, one benefit can be peace of mind. Can you imagine the stress of flood hitting, knowing you don't have any coverage at all versus you do have coverage on that flood insurance? Let's talk about from an emotional standpoint. Let's talk about from a recovery standpoint, just the emotional stress that potentially could happen just simply by having that building coverage. Now, one of the other benefits, one of the features of having that building coverage is what type of building coverage do you have? Let's talk about replacement cost is the feature. The benefit here is getting a lot more coverage. Can you imagine filing a claim on a $150,000 house and getting a $15,000 check? You would probably be pretty upset as a homeowner, wouldn't you? I know I would, but this is exactly what we saw happen to a homeowner in Texas. Well, why was that? It's because she had never been explained that on her policy when she was filing these claims, her flood insurance policy was actually set up as an actual cash value policy. This means they took out things like depreciation and things like that. This means had she had replacement costs, she would have gotten a much higher amount. So replacement is the claim amount. The claim amount on that replacement cost, these two go hand in hand. You see, when you have replacement costs, the claim amount you can get many times can be much higher. So that's one of the benefits of having a replacement cost when we're talking about building coverage here. And having replacement costs, remember, with the National Flood Insurance Program, they have a condition in order to get replacement costs. You either have to insure the building for up to 80% of the replacement cost or the max coverage available amount through the National Flood Insurance Program. Remember, residential properties, because we're talking to homeowners right now, like myself and like yourself, is up to $250,000. So let's just say the replacement cost on your property is $400,000. You need to make sure to max out that coverage of $250,000, because if you don't, you could be dealing with an actual cash value situation and maybe even get half of what you think your policy's for. Look, you do not want to end up like this homeowner in Texas that had this issue. What you do want to do is you want to be able to get that claim settled as quick as possible, and you want to be able to move on with life. Look, the average National Flood Insurance Program claim that we've seen recently is taken sometimes up to 2 years. And when they do get that check, it's a much lower amount because it was set up as an actual cash value. This could depend on how your policy's set up, but that's another conversation for another time that we will get into sometime. But mainly here we're talking about replacement costs on that building. Now, when we're talking about building too, as I said, we've talked about peace of mind, claim amount. Let's talk about the flood clause. Now, mainly what we're talking about here is private flood insurance. And we're talking about the private flood insurance clause. Well, what exactly is this? Well, this says that a private flood insurance policy mirrors certain things with the National Flood Insurance Program that a bank's going to require. So what are the benefits of having that on a policy? Just to clarify, we do not offer a private flood insurance policy without this clause. And one of the greatest benefits is it meets your mortgage requirements. Have you ever gotten a letter in the mail from the bank from your mortgage company saying, hey, you don't have insurance when you know you do, the stress that can cause and all these things? Well, the same thing can happen on the private flood insurance clause. They think you don't have a policy, but you do, and it has a clause in there, but they can't find it, or a policy was set up without that clause. And you can also click up here in the corner of the video and you can learn more about what the private flood insurance clause is, the things that it states, as we broke that down in another video for you. We'll also have it down here in the description of the video if you missed that card on this video. But it's very important to understand how that meets your mortgage requirements when it comes to having the right building coverage. Remember, generally, you don't have to worry about contents coverage meeting a bank's requirements on the residential side for the most part. It's all about that building coverage. So when we're talking about meeting your mortgage requirements and the private flood insurance clause, remember, your bank generally is going to require the lesser of one of these things. Either the maximum amount available through the National Flood Insurance Program, which is $250,000, or your loan amount, whichever one typically is less. Now, let's talk about all these things now over here with price. Now, when we're talking about replacement, even with the National Flood Insurance Program, we're talking about private flood insurance, typically, yes, the price is going to be higher. Now, here's the catch though. Remember, the National Flood Insurance Program is already putting your replacement cost into that rating model when they build your rate. So let's say you have a replacement cost of $500,000 on that building. You're not getting $500,000 in coverage. The max coverage amount you're getting is $250,000. Now let's say that your neighbor's replacement cost is only $300,000. They're also only getting $250,000, but guess what? Their price could be much lower because one of the rate drivers now with the National Flood Insurance Program is replacement cost. Even though you're not getting any more coverage, or maybe even less coverage there, big impact. So just remember, important that the higher the replacement cost, typically the higher your rate's going to be. Generally, with the National Flood Insurance Program and even with most private companies, as they're putting this in, calculating the risk modeling and all that. So when it comes to building coverage and features and benefits and pricing, this is how it's going to be higher. Is actual cash value going to be lower? Many times it would be because you're getting significantly less coverage. So those are the features, the benefits, and the price just when we're talking about building coverage here. And these are some of the things to think about. Now, we're talking about building coverage and benefits and peace of mind too. What we're talking about too here is we're talking about financial protection. Peace of mind and financial protection could go hand in hand. Let me tell you, 85% of people who had damage during Hurricane Harvey did not have flood insurance because their flood maps had not been updated, so their bank was not requiring it. Features of having the right building coverage with the benefits and financial protection is this building coverage could protect you from foreclosure or bankruptcy. When you have those damages and you can't live in your house for 2 years, but you're at least getting the amount of money to fix the property damage, that could be huge. Imagine getting a $150,000 check for your insurance compared to getting zero. It could take a long time to make that difference up. So remember that. Let's just talk about this too though. Even though we're talking about a higher price, we're talking about replacement cost. Remember, there is no higher cost when having the flood insurance clause in there. That's what most private companies are going to have in there. The higher the building coverage, yeah, the higher your price. But as I said, once again, it could depend on your bank coverage. Could depend on what they are requiring there. What's your loan amount, replacement costs, all these different things. You want to make sure you have the right building coverage in place because let me tell you, come claims time, you're not going to say, well, I did save $50 a year on my flood insurance because I didn't get that replacement cost. I can tell you that in 15 years of working in the insurance industry, I've never had a customer say that during claims time. In fact, it's usually the opposite. We're like, man, I really wish I would have taken that additional coverage, or I really wish I would have listened to my insurance agent when they were recommending these coverages. So just remember that on building coverage. So that's benefits. But remember, before you jump off this video, make sure to share, like, and subscribe to the channel so that other people can find the same value in the information we've shown you today. Now, also make sure to stay tuned for one of the other videos where we go through and we show you features, benefits, impact on pricing for contents coverage, even for something called loss of use additional living expense, which is a coverage that most homeowners like yourself are unaware of and the benefits it can provide come claims time. My name is Chris Green, the Flood Insurance Guru, and I look forward to talking to you in our next video.